Transition. The process or a period of changing from one state or condition to another. Proverbs 4:25. Let your eyes look directly forward and your gaze be straight before you.
Alright, hey everybody, welcome back. Once again, it's your girl Jasmine. So, we're talking about a drastic change. So, God has been talking to me about a drastic change in life and what He's doing. It's a new day. And so, recently, He started talking to me about a great transition. Now, the word great means basically bigger than all the others. So, this transition will be a bigger transition than all the other transitions that there has ever been. And so, what we're going to be looking at, I'm going to have you guys in Exodus, because this shows the beginning of the great transition in which it was that God was going to do. When he first approached Moses. This is known as one of, well, in the Bible, we always talk about this as a great transition. It was a great change for the children of Israel. They were coming out of Egypt. God was going to deliver them from their bondage. So we kind of see that. So, I'll start in Exodus chapter 3, verse 1. We'll read all the way down to verse 8. Now Moses kept the flock of Jethro his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock into the backside of the desert, and came to the mountain of God, even in Horeb. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto him in a flame of fire out of the midst of the bush. And he looked, and behold, the bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed. And Moses says, I will now turn aside and see this great sight, and why the bush is not burnt. And when the Lord saw that he turned aside to see, God called unto him out of the midst of the bush, and said, Moses, Moses. And he said, Here I am. And he said, Draw not nigh hither, put off thy shoes from off thy feet, for where thou standest is holy ground. Moreover, he said, I am the God of thy father, the God of Abraham, and God of Isaac, and God of Jacob. And Moses hid his face, and he was afraid to look upon God. And the Lord said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people which are in Egypt, and I have heard their cries by reason of their taskmasters. For I know their sorrows, and I am come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them out of that land unto a good land, unto a land flowing, a good land and a large, unto a land flowing with milk and honey, unto a place of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites. So, what we're seeing here is that this was the beginning process of a great transition. It was the moment where God told Moses, look, Moses, I see what is going on. I see the cries of my people. I see what is happening, and it is that time for them to be delivered. You think about any type of delivery, it is a type of transition. Even when, are you going to get your pizza delivered? Okay, well, they take the pizza, they deliver it in a car, they drop it off to you. It's a transition. It's from one place to another place. You think about a delivery, having a baby. The baby is coming out, going down onto the women's private area, coming out, being delivered, and delivered into the world. Transition, delivered, setting free. He's here to deliver you, to set you free. You're going to go from one place to the next place. You're going to transition. This is going to be a greater transition than any of the other transitions that has happened. This is really huge. Here are all these people. They are oppressed. They are trying to break free. They want a change, and change is on its way. And God has spoken that He is going to make a way, um, and that He is going to transition. And it all starts, you know, knowing that you have um, transition is always good, knowing that you have God on your side, because you know that God is going to make a way, even if it is hard in the transition. I think about my life and how I've been transitioning from Massachusetts to Florida. Now that's been, you know, a hard transition, but I've known that God was with me along the way. So all the doors opened, even when they seemed like they were hard, for some time I didn't have a job down here, and then God gave me a really good job, and then He wanted me to move, and so then I moved into a condo, and I basically got my condo the fifth day before I was about to be homeless. Like, I had 5 days left before I was going to be homeless, and God opened up the door for me to move. I mean, transition after transition. I mean, and as long as God is with you, as long as you know it's that He goes with you on your transition, you have nothing to worry about. So I'm going to put up the next few questions, and then we're going to carry on. Peace. Do you believe that it's all going to come together? Are you ready to move forward? Alright, you guys. So we're going to talk about that next. Basically, transition can come with fear. It can come with a lot of fear at first because it is a big step of faith. It is change, especially if you've been doing the same thing for a while. Um, it's different. It can be hard to break out of old habits. It can be hard to move forward. You can want to go backwards. There's so much that can happen during transition. Like, I remember when I first moved here to Florida and I got into a car accident my second week, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, I want to just go home. I can't do this. Like, everything was going wrong. Like, I didn't know my way around. I didn't have anybody around here with me. It was just me, like, I had to figure out how to do this, and do it alone, and so it, I mean, I got through it, but there's still that, fear that can come with transition. And so God reminds us, that we during great transition, big transitions that are bigger than that we're used to. This is the great transition. So this is the transition that is larger than any transition that you've ever gone through. So God, it's like right here, it's the beginning of Joshua. Here's the children of Israel. This is like the next generation of the children of Israel after the children of Israel had been set up free from out of Egypt. So they went through here's one generation, the children of Israel. They got set free. They crossed the Red Sea. They got set free out of Egypt. God brought them to the promised land. They didn't want to go to the promised land. They wanted in the wilderness. So here's the next generation of the children of Israel. And Joshua is now their leader. Moses has died. And God is telling them, look, you're about to go through a great transition. This is bigger than any transition that you've gone through. Here we go again. But what God wanted to remind them is, do not be fearful in your transition. If God is going to tell you that you're going to transition, He is going to do everything. He goes before you. He prepares the way. There may be some hindrances and roadblocks, but you have to keep pressing on. You can't, like I said, like when I went to go move to my new place, like, literally every time I went to go get a condo, like someone would put their offer in before me, or if someone would put their offer in before me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like literally 5 days before I moved. I had to believe and trust God. Like literally, my landlord said I could get out of my lease, and I was like, I don't even have a place yet. What do I do? What do I do? But know that God made a way. He makes a way. So don't be fearful. Just trust and believe God. So we're going to look at that. Joshua chapter 1. Now after the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord it came to pass, and the Lord spake unto Joshua the son of Nun, Moses' minister, saying, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now therefore arise and go over the Jordan, thou and all the people, unto a land which I do give unto them, even to the children of Israel. Every place that the sole of your feet shall tread upon, that I give unto you, as I said unto Moses, from the wilderness of Lebanon even unto the great rivers of Euphrates, all the land of the Hittites, and unto the great sea towards the going down of the sun shall be your coast. And there shall not any man be able to stand before thee all the days of thy life. As I was with Moses, so will I be with you. I will not fail thee, nor forsake thee. Be strong and of good courage, for unto the people shalt thou divide an inheritance in the land which I swear unto their fathers to give them. Only be thou strong and very courageous, that thou mayest observe to do according to the law of Moses, my servant, command thee. Turn not from it to the right hand or to the left hand, that thou mayest prosper wherever thou goest. So basically what we're seeing is God was reassuring Joshua. He was telling Joshua, look, you're about to go through a great big transition. You're about to go through the Jordan of your life, And so what I need you to do is I need you to be strong and courageous. Don't have fear. Don't look backwards. Just move forward. Fear hinders us from moving forward. It will cause us to stay in the same place. That's why God encouraged Joshua to be strong and courageous. To have courage is to do something despite your fear of it, to press forward despite of how fearful you are of it. That is very courageous. Um, and so therefore you press despite of what may happen, despite of the answer, like the what if, there's always those questions. What's going to happen when I get to the other side of this transition? What's going to happen? What if things don't go the way I expect them to? What is God going to do? What's on the other side? Transitions, are very scary because, like I said, it takes faith. It's like walking into a thing of fog and wondering, okay, what is on the other side? Well, we have to trust God. We have to be strong. We have to be courageous because God's saying that He's going with us on this great transition. It's going to be a greater transition than any of the other transitions. And so we must allow God to be God and just have courage, and have faith and not live in fear, but move forward because we don't want to be like the children of Israel because like I remember like almost 2 years ago when God first wanted me to transition into a new life and move me to Florida and everything. I was living here and I had fear and I didn't want what He wanted. I was just like the children of Israel and He took everything away from me because He just like the children of Israel. Because why? They had fear. And what does fear do? It hinders you from moving forward. And so here we are. It's a great transition. And you don't want to miss this transition due to your fear. I don't want to miss it because I remember what happened to me last time. And, last time I missed out on some great things in my life because of fear. And so I know that no matter how scared I get, I have to say, I want to make it to the other side. I want to see what God has for me. I want better in my life. And, if this is a great transition, greater than all the others, like, I'm so ready for change. I want to see a change so great in my life that when people look at my life, they'll be like, wow, look at what God did in her life. Like, this is so amazing. So I'm going to put up the next few questions and we're going to carry on. All right, guys? Peace. All right, hey everybody. So we're going to kind of look in Luke because we're going to look at a different, we talked about delivery earlier, how delivery is part of transition. And so we're going to kind of look in the Bible, we're going to look at Luke chapter 1, where basically chapter 113, it says, "But the angel said unto him," so this is talking about Zacharias, and basically Elizabeth and Zacharias didn't have children. And so they both wanted children, and so they were at a point in their life where God was going to transition them into a new place. This was their great transition. Everybody has a great transition in their life in which God's going to deliver them to. It depends on your life story, your circumstance, what God wants to do in your life. My great transition may be different than your great transition. I don't know what it is. Like right now, a lot of my family's moving down to Florida. For my grandmother, it would be her moving. For other people, it could be, God's going to restore their family. I don't know what it is that God's great transition in your life is, but you know what it is that you're going through in your life. And for Zacharias and Elizabeth, they were barren and they didn't have children and they wanted children. And so therefore that was the great transition that God was about to bring them through. Something that was life changing, something very drastic, it was very big for them. And so it says right here in verse 13 of Luke 1, "But the angel said unto him, Fear not, Zacharias, for thy prayer is heard, and thy wife Elizabeth shall bear a son, and thou shalt call his name John. And thou shalt have joy and gladness, and many shall rejoice at his birth." Now, I was just saying, like, for my life, when God does this great transition in my life, I want people to be like, wow, look at what God has done for, her in her life, and, look at the changes that he can do, and be inspired to believe in God and believe that, wow, if God can do that for her, God can do that for me too. That's the whole purpose, for God to get the glory, for them to believe that, wow, okay, I know I can't do this by myself. I know that it wasn't me doing this, like, but it was God, it was only him. And so we'll kind of see that. So in verse 57 of Luke 1, it says, "Now Elizabeth's full term came that she should be delivered, and she brought forth a son." Now, what we're seeing here is she was at the point of her transition, because it says, "Now, at this moment, at this time, at this place, Elizabeth's full term came that she should be delivered." Meaning, she was at the point, so it's like saying, okay, right now, I'm at the point in the place where I'm at a transition. Okay? It says she was at full term. So basically, when you're pregnant, you go to your full term, and then once you're at your full term, you have no more growing, you have no more, you can't stay in the place where you're at. You have to be pushed forward, you have to move forward, or else, there's no turning back, especially with no baby. No baby's just going to sit in your stomach like, oh no, okay, mom, I'll just stay up here. No, you're going to be pushed into a new direction to move forward into this great transition. There's no staying where you are, So basically, she was at the place where she was at full term, and she was at the place where she would be delivered. So meaning she was fully prepared to move to the next place where she needed to be, and now she would transition to where it was that God had originally said that she would be. So it says right here, "And she brought forth a son." Now, back in Luke 1, verse 13, it says, But the angel of the Lord said unto her, Fear not, Zacharias, for thy prayer is heard, and thy wife Elizabeth shall bear thee a son, and shall call his name John. So there it was, God had said, this is what is going to happen to you in your life, and this is where I'm going to transition you to. And then she got to a place where God, she got to full term. She was in the place where she needed to be delivered, in the place where she needed to transition. Her life would never be the same any more than it was, because before Elizabeth was barren, she couldn't have children. This was their prayer, and then now they're at a place where they can be pushed towards the answering of their prayer and enjoy what it was that they had originally asked God for, and transitioned to it. And it says, and her neighbors and her cousins heard how the Lord had shown great mercy upon her, and they rejoiced with her. People were happy for her because of the thing that in which it was that God had done in her life. They saw the transition. It's not like when you transition, like I said, people see your transition as well. Like you never know who's watching you, but people are watching, especially when God does like a drastic change in your life. There's like you just see it, like, I mean, this, like, look, like, I live in Florida now. I mean, you can't miss that, like, there's no missing that. I mean, especially if you guys been watching my videos for, like, almost 2 years now, like, I was in Florida, and then I was here, and then I did some flying back and forth, and then I came here, like, and then from my car to having a roommate to, my job door opening to me getting my condo. So, like, it's a transition. You can't miss the transition, And so just be prepared for what God is going to do. This transition is a greater transition than any of the other transition. And it's the transition that basically says that this is what God's been doing all along. Like, Romans 8:28, all things work to the good of those who love God, who are called according to his purpose. So every single step you've taken is working towards the good of his purpose. And this transition is to reveal his purpose of everything he's been doing along the way. And so I'm going to put the last few questions, and I thank you guys so much for tuning in. And stay tuned for what God's about to do in my life, in my transition. And I would love to hear about what God's doing in your life for your great transition. So thank you guys so much, and until we meet again, God bless. Peace.
Ezekiel 1:12. And each went straight forward. Wherever the Spirit would go, they went, without turning as they went. I encourage you to keep looking forward. Don't turn back, but follow God wherever he is about to direct you in your life. Happy transition. All right, you guys, God bless.